So welcome to our very first How to Fundraise workshop. We are so excited that you have chosen to join us tonight as we explore fundraising secrets, fundraising fears, and how to overcome them. By being here tonight, you are amazing. By being here tonight, you have shown that you want to make a difference, and we truly cannot thank you enough. My name is Angela Ridenauer. I'm events manager, and I am joined by Ashley Ferreira, the events manager, and Francis Hale, the walk assistant. But the stars of tonight really are fundraising panel superstars. So please join me in recognizing Curtis and Corinne Anderson from the Chicago IDF Walk for PI, Laura Sievert from the St. Louis Walk for PI, and Maddie Holland from the Dallas IDF Walk for PI. We have a lot of great activities tonight, and I'm so excited that you're here. They include hearing from our panel on their favorite fundraising practices and going over common fundraising fears and ideas. And you will have a chance to meet all of our fundraising panel and ask them any questions that you may have. So please know that your fundraising questions do not have to be walk specific, and the tips and tricks you learn tonight can be applied in any fundraising endeavor that you choose. And as a thank you for attending, you will all be entered into a raffle to win a walk in a box. So stay tuned until the end to see if you're the lucky winner. During this event, you do have access to your video and microphone. However, we do ask that you please keep your mic muted when not speaking to avoid any background noise and interruption to our speakers. During this event, please submit any questions you have using the chat feature to Ashley Ferreira. You will also have an opportunity at the end to ask, in the question and answer portion, any question you may have as well. Please be respectful of others speaking. If you do not receive an answer to your question during the hour, please know that we will follow up with your answer after the event. And now to begin, I am going to have the panel introduce themselves. So first, I'm going to pass it over to Curtis.
Hello, I'm Curtis Anderson. I have been with IDF, participating in IDF and connected with them for about 15 years. I'm a PI patient. I have CVID and been diagnosed over 30 years ago. So first introduced to them just when I was younger, but after getting married, I've been, needing more resources and people to connect with. So they've kind of helped with being able to find the right doctors and insurance type questions and things like that, and just connecting with the community. So they've been really great. And when the first walk started 7 years ago, we were right on board. We were in Milwaukee, but we participate in the Chicago walk. So we would drive down to Cantigny Park every year and participate. And it's been really great. We find that doing the walk really kind of helps get the word out about IDF and tells other people around us about my condition and everything that IDF does to help people like me.
Thank you so much, Curtis. And now I'm going to pass it over to Corinne.
I don't have much to add. I'm his better half, and I'm also probably the one who enforces our fundraising strategies. But in any case, he's covered our involvement with IDF.
Thank you so much. And now, Laura, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Laura Sievert, and I am not a PI patient, but I am a mom of a now young adult PI son. We discovered IDF right when he was diagnosed at about age 10, and we pretty much started fundraising from the beginning. If somebody didn't know what they wanted for a gift for Christmas or was short of ideas, we always said, oh, you can always give to IDF for one of us, or we'll give to IDF for you as a gift. And then as soon as the walks came on board, we started participating heavily to the point where now I don't think we have an option because family depends on it. They love it. The Taters, we're from Columbia, Missouri, and Tate is my son. So we've been the Taters with a happy dancing tater tot every year. But we live right in the middle of Kansas City and St. Louis. So we have done the St. Louis walk 4 times and the Kansas City walk 1 time. But we have the advantage of being about 2.5 hours from both walks. So we can kind of pick and choose. We've been a little bit more attached to the St. Louis one, I would say, but we have done both and would happily do either again. And we've just been thrilled to have IDF as a resource and a community and a family to enjoy over all the years, and especially in this time of more isolation.
Thank you so much, Laura. And now, last but certainly not least, Maddie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, y'all. I'm Maddie Holland, and I represent the Dallas, Texas area. So my quick story is that I was diagnosed with PI, or hypogammaglobulinemia, for a fun Scrabble word, at age 8. And since then, I was pretty much alone in that diagnosis. I didn't have anyone that understood that journey until 4 years ago when I came across IDF and their mission and everything they do for people like me. And it was only until last year that I actually buckled down and joined Order of the Zebras and was able to pass that goal that I set for myself. And it's not really much of the money, but more of how can I truly give back to this organization that gives people like me a platform to not feel so alone. And that's something that I lacked, those 13 years of my life after I was diagnosed. So just being able to give back to this organization is phenomenal. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you, Maddie. So thank you again to all of our panelists. I know that I can speak for everyone here when I say how excited we are to have you guys to give your fundraising tips and tricks. So our first topic up for discussion is one of the biggest fears of fundraising. I know that even sometimes I struggle with this, but it's the fear of rejection. Before I go to the panelists, I want to say that rejection is inevitable, but what you do when someone says no makes all the difference. You won't get a donation from every person you ask, but that's okay. It doesn't mean that you did a bad job or that sometimes people just get distracted. Sometimes they don't have the money. But understanding this, that it's not you, is the first step. You can politely follow up with anyone who didn't donate the first time you reached out, as long as they would be okay with it. Many times when rejected, it's hard to not take it personal, but that is the first step. Don't take it personal. It's not you. Just think of it as a missed opportunity by the prospective donor. So just move on and focus on the next donor, the next possible opportunity that you have. So you are the conduit between those with the passion and the financial ability to help make a difference. It's your role to make that connection, and that is very empowering. Remember, if you don't ask, you might avoid the no, yes, but you could be missing out on so many yeses. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our fabulous panel. How do you deal, and do you have a fear of people saying no when you ask them to donate to you?
Absolutely. I feel that anxiety is always going to be there. Even with someone that is able to give, it's always that inevitable no that you're waiting for. But for me, to help avoid that feeling, I phrase those asks for donations in a way that gives them an easy way to say no. So I say, it is okay if you can't right now, and maybe next year. I do it every year. You can. I totally understand. And having those fluff words helps when they do, if they do say no. And if they say yes, that's amazing. But, it's that rejection that is always scary for anyone.
I would say know your people. Start where you're comfortable. I usually start, there are a bunch of people I don't even have to ask anymore. They start asking me in July, when are you forming your team? Because they're so ready to donate. But when you start with the people that and I usually start just by putting it out on social media. That's been a very successful format for us. And so I start there. And then what I found is that, and you can phrase things in ways of, if we understand it doesn't have to be a financial contribution. If you just want to send us your goodwill, your prayers, your support, you just want to send us a picture of your walking, we're thrilled with anything you're willing to contribute. And more often than not, the people who just send their good wishes or whatever one year often will give a little. Or I had somebody say, I'm embarrassed. I really can only give $5. And I said, well, you know what? I'll match your 5. We'll make it 10, and no amount is too small. And so I found by starting with people I know, it's much easier to spread to people I don't know as well. And I don't face very many no's that way.
I think along the same lines, sorry, Curtis, along the same lines, Laura, we're the same way. You approach the people you know, they already are anticipating. Last year in particular, they were all asking, okay, when are you walking? Are you walking? And how are you walking? We also, because we use social media and email primarily, there isn't that face-to-face interaction where we're like calling somebody or we're stopping by. So rejection really comes in the form of, they just didn't donate. And one idea, for those of you who are mothers of children with PI, I like to have my mother-in-law apply what I affectionately call guilt mayo. So if maybe my in-laws haven't donated yet, have her give them a call and say, hey, Corin and Curtis have their walk. Why don't you go ahead and donate? So use your resources, other family members. Sorry, Curtis, go ahead.
No, that's true. To have our other family members kind of apply the pressure sometimes. So some of them actually get competitive on that. But yeah, we never really apply a whole lot of pressure. We do use email as our main thing to kind of let everybody know that we're out there and doing the walk. So we never really hear back about any sort of rejection. But we always try and put out there that, if they aren't able to donate, then that's fine. Just help us spread the word. That's what it's all about. And, so if they, forward on this email or share this on Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, just to help, let other people know, and, still encourage people to go, read my story and check out IDF, and, maybe we'll get them next year. But yeah, just not applying the pressure is kind of, good way to go.
Great, thank you so much. So these panelists truly are experts, because what I'm about to go over, they actually mentioned a lot of. But basically, when someone tells you no, a lot of times you can dig deeper and truly understand why they told you no. So a key way to do this is engage in a more meaningful conversation with the possible donor. A common go-to can be ask them that if they want to learn more about the organization that you're so passionate about. Do they have questions about your mission and what the money goes to? It might make them more interested and comfortable in supporting you. So the key is that you, as the fundraiser, need to listen to the donors. By listening closely, you can often identify the reason that they said no, and then you can adapt to find an arrangement that works for both of you. This does not, however, mean don't take no for an answer. It's up to you to make the call of whether the donor is turning down the specific circumstances of the ask, or they just do not want to give to the organization. If it's the latter, your best move is to thank them for their time and move on. So there's 8 fundraising no's, which are on the worksheet that I sent out yesterday that you can use to follow along. So the first type of fundraising no is, no, not for this. This means that they are not interested in giving to this particular program or project. When given this type of no, don't push more. You can have a conversation and maybe find out what they're interested in. Develop a relationship with them. And pay attention to that, because developing a relationship with them is a common theme throughout these no's, and as well as what our panelists said. The second type of no is no, not you. Sometimes the answer to a question depends on who's asking. It's important to build a connection with your donors and build rapport, but sometimes you can't bridge that gap. So it may mean it's time to tag out and get someone who knows the possible donor better. For example, if I'm asking my sister's boyfriend to donate, it might be better for my sister to ask him than myself because my sister has the better relationship. Additionally, you want to make sure that your possible donors know how to give. If, for example, if they don't know how to use Facebook, you want to walk them through how to do it. You want to say, or you can do cash, check. You want to make it easy for them to donate. They're doing you a favor, so you don't want them to have to go through any trouble. The fourth no is no, not unless. Sometimes this means the donor has some conditions. They might want something in return, such as special recognition or sponsor benefits, or they just might want assurance of how the money is going to be used. Maybe this donor is willing to give, but not unless it's put in a specific fund. So when this happens, just contact IDF, assuming that's who you're raising money for, and we can definitely help navigate you through the process. Also, don't be afraid to propose a possible compromise if you can't meet all of their conditions. The fifth type of no is no, not in this way. This means that this person is interested in helping your organization, but they either can't or don't want to contribute in the form that you have asked for. A lot of times when you think of donations, you think of monetary donations, but that might not be something the possible donor can offer. So find out if there's some other way they would like to give, such as an in-kind donation, volunteerism, or just simply helping to share the word about your fundraiser on social media, by word of mouth. Using social media fundraising is actually a big way to turn followers into donors. The sixth type of no is no, not now. Rather than the amount or form of the gift, this fundraising no is telling you that they cannot give what you're asking for right now. So you have two choices. You can ask when might be a better time to ask again, or is there a better time? Or you can try to find out what they would be comfortable giving now. If they say that they cannot give now at all, simply ask them to spread the word about your fundraiser. The key to this no is to know that you do not ask too soon. By forming a relationship, that is how you get clues of, okay, is this a good time to ask them now? Who should I ask in the family? If you're unsure of what the person you're about to ask will say, that means that you need to do some more relationship building and more cultivation. So no, the seventh no is no too much. In this case, you are asking more than the donor is willing to give. They may not have as much expendable income as you thought they did, or you might not be their top philanthropic priority, but a dollar is a dollar. So just because they say no at first, don't abandon it. Just because they say no to your initial request, they may be willing to give less. And asking for a specific donation does increase the chances that the donor will say yes. But it might take time for them to really feel comfortable giving you as much as they can truly afford. Studies have actually shown that the first gift someone makes is very often not the max gift that they can give. And the most important thing for you to do, though, is respect the donor's wishes, develop trust, and that relationship again. And the last type of no that we'll talk about is no, go away. This means that they are not interested in giving to your organization, and you need to understand and respect that. So determining which fundraising no you have received is up to you. It's a judgment call, and you should use common sense as well as nonverbal cues to know when it's time to walk away. You don't want to create a reputation for badgering your donors, and then you might damage your chances with other possible resources. So the key in all that is to develop a relationship, and that will help you know which no someone said, when's the best time to ask. So now I'm going to turn it over to the panel. How do you deal when someone tells you no?
I'll start by saying, again, rejection is inevitable. So when a situation like that comes around, because usually I ask friends and family, so that no can be taken personally, but I know that each of these people have their own set of responsibilities and things outside this fundraiser that they have to tend to. So usually it was, they don't have the funds for it at the time last year due to the pandemic. And responding with understanding and just leveling person to person of it is okay, and that you appreciate their time and even considering it, that will strengthen that relationship in years to come. Just like Angela keeps emphasizing, is just building that relationship, because every year we do walk for PI, and every year just raising those funds is so important, so vital to IDF. So even if it's no this year, make sure that response to that no is impactful and understanding, so that next year, who knows what the circumstances will be for them.
Thank you. So does any other member of our panel, before I move on, have anything they would like to add?
I happen to think of an example, and this feels like quid pro quo, but it kind of falls into your Angela, your not unless. We all probably work in organizations where, Susie's daughter is selling Girl Scout cookies and Billy's dad is selling Boy Scout wreaths and stuff, right? So as part of my overall giving strategy every year, I will pay attention to who gives to things, and I also give to so there's a little bit of reciprocity that happens, because, hey, when it's time for mine, just remember I did buy cookies from your kid, kind of thing. So it does sound a little bit strategic and maybe manipulative, but that's not really what it is. It's more like, I'm giving to you. How can we mutually help each other's organizations?
I think that's an excellent point. And in fact, now I walk and give to diabetes, ALS, MS, dermatomyositis. Like, there's a whole bunch now who are just, we mutually give back and forth. And so I think we're all happy with it, but now I'm walking for all of their causes and getting to know other great organizations that I wouldn't have known otherwise. And it's fine by me. And sometimes those people can't give to yours this year, and that's fine. I still go walk in theirs because, maybe they want back someday, maybe they can't, but that's okay. I try not to make it a conditional, well, if you don't give to me, I'm not giving to you, because that doesn't feel right to me. But I will say I'm now involved in helping many more of these sort of diagnosis related charities than I would have ever anticipated, because there is common ground between all of them. And it's a way that we can help each other on a much broader scale.
Thank you so much. So after hearing this, you're like, well, where do I start? So you want to start, and I know this was mentioned, you want to start with people you know. You'll feel the most comfortable asking them. And then when they say yes, that will give you more confidence. You can share them pictures of you at a walk. There's a lot of pictures on IDF, as well as resources on IDF, or even like a video. As I mentioned, there's many resources on the IDF website. So stay tuned, because after this, within the next couple days, I'll be sending a recording of this so you can watch it again, as well as there's tons of flyers we have that can help you, tons of resources. So I'll be sending that to you in an email, so you have it all at your fingertips. And your passion and enthusiasm for your cause is your #1 tool. And it's contagious. It's your passion and enthusiasm that will make people more likely to give. So share with your prospective donors the mission of the organization and why it means so much to you. There's also been research, definitely a lot of people have the competitive gene. I know I do as well. You can always make it a little contest with create a countdown. A lot of people love that, and then they will give more because, of course, they want to win. Additionally, it's very important to know that through all these tips that we share, what works for one person might not work for you. But by sharing these tips, and listening to these tips, you can apply what will work to you and build those relationships so you know what will work for you and what won't. So thus far tonight, we have been focused on what if someone says no, but what if they say yes? Of course, rejection is a big fear that many people have with fundraising. But when thinking about, oh, I'm scared, just think about your passion for what you're fundraising for. Use that to get you through. So now let's take time, though, and learn about the successes of our panelists. That's why we're all here, right? So you can ask them question on their methods at the end of the workshop during question and answer. So whoever would like to go first, where do you typically start when you start fundraising? Please share all your tips, tricks, and hints when it comes to fundraising. And what are the methods that you use?
I'd say social media is the biggest tool for me. But more specifically, it's how I reach out to the people that have been with me on this journey. So the people who have visited me in the hospital, sent flowers, sent get well cards, they've walked with me through this, and they're just as passionate about this cause and about this foundation. And so having them share my fundraising page, they know that they're giving back to not only everything I've gone through, but everything they've done to help me. So it's kind of a joint effort there. And they have been the biggest tools in my fundraising journey last year. And they have just been phenomenal. And it's also a really fun opportunity to, when I reach out to them, reflecting on their impact on my life. So when I say, could you share this page? I say how important they've been to me when I've gotten sick, during times of infusion surgeries, all those things. So reminding them of their impact, but also saying, I know your network can also help with these causes. So, you know, it's a good reflection point and an amazing way to get more people involved that have walked with you.
One thing I would say too, when I was starting, social media was definitely the easiest way to connect, and sharing links and letting people either give through Facebook or click the link to give through IDF stuff, or simply they could send it to me and I would send it on, or whatever was easiest. And in the first couple of years when it was harder to figure out where to go with things, one of the tricks I learned, and again, it's going to sound a little bit deceptive, but when you see you're getting close to whatever your goal is that you set, and you're within about, say, $20, $25 of that goal, you might want to move your goal up a little, because people really like to bump you over your goal. And so we'll do that to a point, and then usually we'll let it just go over. Because the last 2 years, I have to say, I have to set the stage with what happened last year, and by saying, keep an open mind to fundraising, because I would never wish how we fundraised so much last year on anyone, but it has benefits too, because our family has bought into this so fully all along, and it's such a thing we can share as a family. My father and my father-in-law died within 2 weeks of each other of stage 4 cancer, late August and early September of last year. Both had chosen IDF as the place where they wanted donations to go, and specifically to Tate for IDF Walk for PI. And so that was sort of a whirlwind of donations from people who were more distant family, or who we didn't even know. They were people that our parents had connected with. I don't recommend that by choice, but having that open mind, it was a really good thing. And what it did, I'm really proud of what we're doing this year for fundraising, because it was last year's experience that laid the platform, because my father had died and left a little bit of unexpected money to me. That wasn't money I wanted for me. It didn't feel right. That's not how my dad would want it, really. And so what I did is I was trying to figure out how to make this a fun fundraising. Well, my son and I are both members of an ultra running group. So ultra marathoners are the insane people. We run over marathon distance. Some of them run 200 milers, things like that. I've only gone 33 miles so far, and Tate's body has only let him do one full marathon so far, but in his heart, he is every bit an ultra runner. And so what we did was we challenged the ultra running group this year. We said, hey, with my dad's passing, there's this unexpected fund. And if you'll log your miles for me for the month of September, I'll match $1 per mile from that fund for what you'll put in. Okay, knowing this is a risky group to offer this to. So we're halfway through the month, and we'll be putting the first donation in tomorrow. And I think, depending on how many more people enter tonight, it's going to be about 1,500 already, because these people are so passionate. What I didn't expect to come from that, and this is again what you were referring to, Maddie, where it sort of spins off, and then all the runners, or several of them at any rate, have offered to match what I'm putting in for their miles. They're going to match it to IDF. So whatever we do will come close to doubling, because the runners are totally buying in, and this is the most competitive group of people you can get to do it. And of course, they're already saying, well, where are we now, and how can we beat it next year? So my message in that is, that's a very specific setting that works very well for us. But when you know your people and you keep an open mind, all of a sudden you begin to find things that snowball in fundraising that maybe you didn't think of before.
That's a great idea.
We our main thing is we start off with an email that we send out to all of our family and friends, that especially ones that have donated in the past. And then we also send out, each individually send out emails to all of our coworkers as much as we can. We don't really have access to like send it out to the entire distribution list of our companies because that would just be a little too much. But we get a lot of our donations actually come from our coworkers and people and other people that we kind of work with. So that's kind of our big thing. I use social media for reaching out, just on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. And to be honest, that's about the only social media presence I have most of the time is when I'm doing that. So it's not like I have a whole lot of followers or anything, but it's a little definitely more active when doing the fundraising campaign. So, but we get people that comment and share and stuff like that, and we've gotten setting up to allow them to donate through Facebook has been helpful. A lot of people just preferred to do that. Kind of Facebook definitely makes it easy for just a couple clicks to donate to the campaign. So that's really great. And our big thing is trying to offer different kinds of incentives to get people to walk. We started off, we'll walk so many laps, or then I got a kind of a zebra costume that I'd wear. So if we raised enough, I'd walk laps in a zebra costume, and then it was we'll walk a lap for every like $1,000 that we raise, and quite frankly, a lap is about a mile, and we were finishing our laps after the ceremony and everything was done, and they were packing up. So it got to be a little much. So this last year, since we're doing it all together, still did more of the costume. I just thing I had to do was wear it around our neighborhood. So that was kind of different. And like I said, I don't have much of a social media presence. We don't have my picture and stuff out there. So people getting to see that was a little different. People willing to see it, be doing things a little outside my norm and embarrassing is helpful. And this year, if we raise enough by the start of the walk, I'm actually going to wear the costume at the county zoo by us. So kind of definitely out in public, but in the zoo is a little bit safer. We're not kind of organizing a big gathering of people, just, we raise the money, then Gordon and I will go there and I'll be wearing the costume and that. So it's, like I said, offering that incentive for people. And another thing that we're doing this year, an additional incentive is to try and get people to donate plasma. Plasma, we're going to, for anybody that donates twice, that we will donate, and they give us proof that they donated twice, that we'll donate $100 in their name. So, so it's kind of adding on to what we can do to help out people with PI. That's definitely what we need. It's so we thought that was a good way to kind of help raise money. I know most people that actually said that we talked to about donating, they actually, they didn't realize that they would actually get paid for it too. And they said that if they did it, they would actually donate what they get paid to the walk too. So not that we, want to say, go donate and make some money and that, donate to us. It's, but we find that people are willing to do that to kind of help the cause.
I'll just throw in one of the things that we also do, which is kind of twofold. I am a big person for thank yous, like thank you cards. Handwritten thank you cards are what I require. So every year I take pictures of Curtis in his costume for those who can't witness it themselves, and I turn it into a thank you card, and we handwrite thank yous to every donor. So right now our donor list is somewhere between 80 and 100 people. I've written more thank you cards than probably anybody who's ever done a wedding, right? Or who's gotten married multiple times. But that card, we also have our own little team logo, and we've created magnets for it. We've created stickers for it. So that card plus a magnet, a sticker, then they show up around my office on people's cubes. It's advertising for the next walk or the next person who's like, where'd you get this from? Oh, that's Corin's walk. And they start advertising for you. So you can use it like genuinely, but you can also use it as advertisement for future donors.
Yeah, I actually have some coworkers that donate and specifically say that they're donating because they want a picture of me in the zebra costume. So.
Yeah, we actually, especially the first couple of years, we had a lot of people who wanted the dancing tater tot shirt. And so my deal was, hey, if you can give 10 or 20 bucks, I'll buy you the shirt. And they're nice 3/4 length shirts because I never know what the weather's going to be. So I try and plan for both that way. But yeah, the shirts have been very popular. And rather than have people have to buy a shirt or something, I just say, hey, if you give to IDF, I'll get you a shirt. And, they've had, well, my kid wants one. And I'm like, does your kid have a quarter? I'll take a quarter and I'll get your kid a shirt. And obviously I lose a little bit on that. But then the next year, that kid, one of them gave me $5 the next year. They'd been saving because they wanted to help Tate. So it's the same snowball effect with that you're finding, even though I hadn't thought of the magnet. That's brilliant. Or the sticker. We've just done the shirts, and the shirts are still all around town. And people say, hey, what's that from?
One thing, another occurred to me, another thing that has happened just over the course of the last year. We're all neighbors, but how much do you engage with your neighbors? I mean, for us, we're workaholics. Until recently, we never saw our neighbors because we were never at home. Well, now our neighbors see us all the time. But like our neighbors went away on a vacation this last winter. We live in the frigid northern part of the Midwest, and we got 3 snowstorms while they were gone in 1 week. And we had graciously volunteered to shovel for them. You know what they did? They donated to IDF as part of like payment to us for that. Like that was awesome. So like you're walking somebody's dog, you're babysitting somebody's, cat while they're out, you're mowing the neighbor's lawn, have them channel any of that towards IDF. I know my mom, she used to hem people's pants, because nobody knows how to sew anymore. So my mom would, fix people's pants, sew on a button. She put it in a jar and donated it all to IDF. So any little favors that kind of, come your way, how do you turn that into something that can support IDF as well?
Yes, they were all great ideas, tips, and tricks. So now I want to direct this question to Corin. I know a lot of your donations come through the matching gifts with a foundation. Do you have any tips and tricks you can share about matching gifts and that whole process?
Yeah. So I work for an organization, and I saw very quickly in somebody's chat, so this maybe partially answer the question about company donations, but only partially. So I work for an organization that is extremely generous with its time and funds towards the community. We have a very, what I would call generous match opportunity. So every year we get matched dollar for dollar or dollar for half dollar, up to a certain threshold per associate. And Curtis and I, we max that out every single year, and it all goes to IDF. My coworkers also know that they have this available to them. And so a great deal of what IDF sees are these onesie, twosie checks that come through from my coworkers as they've submitted their matches. And in some cases, like it's $12, but it's $12, and those $12 add up over multiples. So what I strongly encourage is, if you work for an organization, ask about your company match. If you don't have a company match, talk to someone else who's on your team or someone else who's donating and say, do you have a company match? Because chances are they might have a company match, and that's another way to channel funds through to IDF.
Yes, absolutely. And I know we have a link that I'll add to this email that I'm sending out, that you can put the company's name in and it says if the company matches or not. So I will send that out in that email. I also want to say, I believe we have it already, but if not, I will create it. Some people were asking about how do you donate on Facebook and how do you connect it? I will make sure to send out a step-by-step with pictures of how to do it. So you can definitely link that up. And as always, if you still can't figure it out, no worries, I am always here. So now we are going to, it's question and answer time. So we had a couple questions come in, so we're going to go over those first, and then we'll give you the opportunity to ask questions as well. So the one question that someone sent in was about asking companies to give. Do any of our panelists have any advice on what's the best way to ask a local company to give, whether it's a huge corporate, big company, or just maybe a small family-owned company? Do any of our panelists have any advice?
I can speak, I'm from a larger public held company, that they do get a lot of donation requests. So especially if you're looking for something, for the walk, that, I'd try and ask early. I think if you're looking to get something for this walk season, for some of the larger companies, it might be a little tough to get by the end of the year. So, but I'd look, figure out who you might want to ask for next year, bigger companies, smaller companies, and, doesn't hurt to start with them this year. Especially if they say, if they're a little bit more receptive and they get back to you soon enough, because like I said, large companies get thousands of them. So you're going to be sitting in a pile. But some companies might be able to get back to you and be like, I'm sorry, it's not in our budget this year. Well, asking now also kind of helps that, oh, well, if you can, fit us in your budget for next year, that'd be great. So, but it's timing is a big thing, because they do have to go through a little bit more. Like places just can't just automatically just sign it over a check. They also might even require the proof of a 501c and things like that. So just keep that in mind. It is a good idea. I know that there's been some people that get some amazing donations from companies. There's some franchise places that offer that allow their franchises to do that kind of thing on their own, but also be willing to open up even if they can't donate money, if there is something that they can be able to donate, whether it's food or products or something like that you can also do for a raffle in order to raise some money, stuff like that. So, but yeah, just like I said, just kind of started early, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time for companies to come through.
That reminds me, I mentioned the shirts earlier that people love so much. One of the things I did was to explain to the shirt company, what they were for and why they were doing them, and share a little bit of our story there. And lo and behold, we got the shirt company to donate not money to IDF, but some of the shirts. So every year they donate a decent number of shirts that I don't then have to pay for new walk members who are joining our team. So yeah, again, I'm not a very extroverted person and I'm not always good at asking, but boy, when I get an opportunity and I can use it, it's been very helpful. And so even little things like that I wasn't approaching a big company to match or anything else, but suddenly realizing, well, hey, you asked me about this. It's a chance to tell you. And I didn't even think to say, would you donate? He offered. So I can't take credit, but it did make me realize, again, that open mind concept, you never know.
And also an answer to kind of where do you start if you don't have an organization in mind or a company or business that you want to approach. At least for the Dallas area, Dallas-Fort Worth, there's something called the Communities Foundation of Texas. And from there's a list of businesses that continually volunteer and donate, and they have a business side to it too. So they list all of those businesses that want to give back in any way they can. Every month they choose a different cause, and my company is actually part of that too. So that's how I have that knowledge. And I know in different cities, big cities, they have these organizations that a group of companies come together and volunteer and donate. And that's kind of where you can start, is finding those lists that they're already giving back. Why not join, IDF into the giving pile?
Would you just Google that, Maddie, to find that list? Sorry, Corinne.
I mean, because I just volunteered with them Friday, so I know that Communities Foundation of Texas, I was able to see all of the businesses around just that. So I can definitely try to do a Google search if there's something in like St. Louis or something similar to that, and connect with you, Angela, and then you can send it out if there is stuff like that. But I know just for my area, that's how I would start from there, or at least find an organization that all these businesses are coming together.
I just had one really quick thought too about if somebody says no that I forgot that I've used before that's worked. If they can't give right now to IDF, one of the things I've reminded them is, do you ever shop at Amazon? If you do, smile.amazon.com, you can select IDF. And that's another way of turning a no into a yes from somebody who had no real intention of doing that necessarily, because then they're like, well, yeah. So they ask how, you explain, you just select IDF. And then when you go to purchase from Amazon, some portion is going to IDF. So sorry, just had that thought and didn't want to forget again.
No, that's an excellent call out, Laura. We do the exact same thing. That is fantastic. I was going to dovetail off of what Curtis had said about asking for maybe product donations. So he has said that our team tends to be very competitive. So we've turned some of those products into incentives. So whoever gets the first donation gets a prize. Whoever raises the most money gets a prize. So we've incentivized our walkers to compete against each other to raise the bar. So that's another way that you could use possible donations from companies in order to ultimately help IDF, but do it by helping your team members in a way.
Thank you guys so much. That was definitely very insightful. Diane, do you have a question?
Actually, a comment. I used to work at a school, and some of the parents they were interested in the walk, and they actually went ahead and walked with me. And, my boss went ahead and put flyers out. So, the other parents were aware and stuff like that. I've had friends of family who've shared my Facebook post of my fundraising onto their page. I've had other people who've gone ahead and just donated they didn't want to click the link from Facebook because they're kind of sketchy about those things. So I told them, just go on to the IDF website. You'll find me. You can donate that way. And they're like, okay, cool. And I've also had people as Christmas gifts and birthday gifts for me. They're like, what do you want? And I'm like, just donate to the IDF Foundation. I have so much stuff, and I do. I said, you could be helping other people like me just by doing that.
Thank you so much, Diane. And one thing I wanted to say too, I know Curtis mentioned, if a company needs like a tax, proof and stuff that we're a 501 C3, just ask us and we can get that to you. It's super easy for us to get that to you. So don't be afraid to ask. And then I think Ashley had someone send her a question.
We did receive a question, Angela, but it has already been answered. However, I see Pixie has a question that probably hasn't been answered.
Yes, Pixie?
Well, my donors seem to not have the joining gene or something. They're just very risk averse to joining anything. So I've always been a team of one. And I'm not social media. I'm not even really in some ways computer literate. So I don't know when someone's donated. And many of them said, give me a couple weeks and I'll send something in. So, I mean, it's taken me a little bit of figuring out to even figure out who donated. And many of them seem to have donated without designating my team name. So I, in a lot of ways, I feel like I've jumped into the deep end of the pool and I should be waiting.
Pixie, we can definitely work together to help, put two and two together as far as gifts that we've received and everything, and I can definitely help you as well. Do any of our panelists have any, comments or maybe some helpful hints for Pixie?
Can I also say that I live in a 11-story senior building, and they have very, very strict guidelines, rules about fundraising kind of any sort at all. And so Girl Scout cookies and Boy Scout wreaths and anything like that is like, people have gotten massive fines because they have violated that kind of stuff. So while I have friends in the building, I would have no problem just individually asking them, but I'm really averse to putting anything down in writing, because if it happens to get passed on to anybody else, I don't know if I'm going to be, in deep doo-doo.
My advice to you is you're already doing a great job. You're trying and you're doing it, and that's all that really matters. And whether you end up with a lot of donations or a few donations, it's mostly important, I think, that we all communicate and we participate in things together, because as a single person doing any fundraising, we're not necessarily that strong, but when we all do it together, every little bit adds up, and suddenly we become a very strong community because people like you are willing to put themselves out there and take a chance. And even if it's not a traditional way of fundraising, it works just fine. Anything you raise is still helping all of us and IDF.
I was going to add, Pixie, I don't know how many years you've walked, but pre-pandemic, when we walked with other people, Curtis actually kind of developed a friendship with some of the other adult PI patients. And we've actually, we look for them on the day of the walk. And there are laps, they know we do multiple laps. And so they'll look for us and they'll come and talk to him. We've actually donated to other people at the walk instead of just ourselves, in order to support an entire community. So maybe don't worry about being one and look for somebody at the walk. And I realize that's not possible necessarily right now, but I'm optimistic that when we get back to those times, we'll be able to see those folks again.
I think I'm only aware of one other person who's actually got a team and doing something. I do know other people, but not many. Who actually the only time I really see people who have PI is when I go to the conferences. And I know there's probably 500 of us somewhere in Minnesota, but it's, it's pretty isolating, basically. I'm not even sure if we're going to have a central walking site.
Angela, can I say something?
Absolutely.
Pixie, I'm like you. I'm a team of one because I'm not very good with the technology and I'm retired, so I don't have my work situation. And Angela's helped me a lot because I really can't even figure out where to put the checks that people give me, which I still don't know how to do. She can tell me after. So I'm kind of with you. I know we're probably older than some of the younger people, and I'm not good at technology at all. But as far as being isolated, what I wanted to tell you, if this is okay, everybody, you could probably try to get on the support groups that they have on Zoom, because I do the one in Hockessin, Delaware, but I really live in Pennsylvania. And you could get on that one because there's just a few of us women that are on that, and you could get on any one of them. And that's how I met some people. I didn't meet them in person. When I did the walks, because I don't have a team, I would volunteer at the booths because I didn't have anybody to walk with me. And then I would meet somebody that way also. But as far as the isolation, somebody just came on our support group that apparently has been locked in her house for over 2 years. So she got on the group. So we're trying to text her and email her, but you could come on the Hockessin, Delaware group. You don't have to do from your state. I don't know if they have one there, but you can look on that, and Angela could probably direct you. I think it's what's her name that's in charge of Lorraine O'Brien's in charge of that. Look up that. You could come on our group. It's this Saturday.
I know. I'm in the group for Wichita, and I live by Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, who's?
This is Rita.
Oh, okay. My screen only shows 9 people. Sorry. I know that wasn't on the topic, but I just wanted to let Pixie know that I'm with her with that, because I don't have a big team and I don't know how to do social media. I just try to ask the people I know.
And I'm the same way. I don't ask a bunch of people and that. I know Laurel came to the IDF walk 2 years ago, and on Facebook I have added pictures that we had taken together and things about the walk that she was there. And that, so it was really kind of, try and get the word out, but it's tough.
And Pixie, you're coming in from Twin Cities, right? So I think just throughout IDF 2, you aren't alone. I think you know this by now. But, just because you're in Twin Cities, you're walking with a whole herd here. So I don't want you to forget that we are all in this together, even though we're in different cities and things, that I don't want you to ever feel alone. And it doesn't matter how much you raise, but you're raising awareness in the meantime too. So I hear you and I understand you, and I just want you to know that you are.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
These Zoom meetings have meant so much to me during this pandemic. I've met so many people just from doing this, and it's really quite amazing. All the different stories, everything, but we're all in this together. I have a best friend who we've done like 2 or 3 walks together, and she'll do it with me, and she'll usually for Christmas donate, she'll donate to the IDF and stuff like that. But we're all in this together. Like everyone else said, just because we live in different states, we're all here for each other.
Yes, definitely. And I just wanted to say a couple of things. So Pixie, you definitely want to make sure if you can attend the pep rally for Twin Cities, and really you can attend any pep rally. if you would like to, because even though we're virtual, we are going to be breaking out into groups so you can actually connect with other people. And you are welcome to share your information, share your contact information, so then you can be connected. And then Ashley also shared the link for the Get Connected group meetings as well. So definitely you want to take a look at that. And I can help you, Pixie, as well, if you need it. And it looks like we have time for one more question. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Well, if you don't have any now, if you think of any, absolutely send them to me and we will definitely help you. So before we call it a night, I would like to give each panelist the opportunity just to give some words of advice to all of our fundraisers.
Like I said to Pixie, it's not just about raising money, even though that does help with the resources and the events and being able to connect with each other. It's also about raising awareness. Kind of like how I shared my story at the beginning. I didn't know IDF existed for a large portion of my diagnosis, and I felt so alone. But then I was able to connect with IDF, and having that community and this kind of family feel to it, that I am not alone, that's what's worthwhile. So just you doing that and raising awareness for being diagnosed at an earlier age. And, a lot of people don't know about PI. You're doing more than just raising money. So whatever you do, you're making a difference. And I just want to say thank y'all for that.
Laura, would you like to go ahead and give a couple words of advice?
Sure. And I think the idea of diving in the deep end is a good one. Take those chances. This is IDF. It's a safe place to take chances. If you don't raise as much as you want, or you weren't successful and you got more no's, that's okay. You still have your community here. You still have support here, and there's always the next walk. And I guess I was really afraid after the first walk, well, how do I keep going to the same people and asking every year? But what's happened is year after year, they come to me. When is the walk? I want to give. I have other people who want to give. So it's become its own entity. And by taking the chance the first time and really trying, for us, it's really grown every year into more, and thankfully a little less effort every year in some ways on our parts, just to keep it rolling.
So one of the things that Curtis and I have discovered over the years, we are private. I know it doesn't seem like it, but we are. And so we never talked about his diagnosis. We didn't talk about it with our coworkers. We barely talked about it with our family members. But there were certain aspects over the years where it kind of manifested itself physically. So we had to start talking about it. And one thing we noticed is the more that we were allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and sharing information with other people, the more people wanted to connect with us and understand more about that. And the more they were willing to give and walk with us and donate. For us, the vulnerability was super, super difficult, but it is something that does help. And I don't know about you guys, but for us, because we'd already been vulnerable, it made the last year a little more easy for us, because our employers already knew our circumstances. When they decided to send us home, they're like, you are going home first, because they knew that we were in danger. They have made allowances for us to work at home longer than everyone else, permanently in Curtis's case. So be vulnerable to the extent that you are comfortable, because it really does help, not only with donating, but just in your overall life satisfaction. Okay, I'll get off my little soapbox there.
No, you're great.
Oh, sorry.
No, that is just great that their employers are doing that for them. I mean, I am basically retired, and that my husband works, and he travels and works on one of the jets here at Offutt Air Force Base. So he goes overseas quite a bit. So, and right now he's over in England going to go to Suda Bay Crete. So it's like, yeah. And he told me when he came back from Japan, he was going to wear a mask. Well, that didn't happen until the base got too many cases in Sarpy County. They decided the DOD's made it mandatory. Everyone on base has to wear a mask. Well, we don't wear them in the office because we're all vaccinated. I don't care. Wear your mask.
Amen.
And that, so I'm going to church now, but I wear my mask.
Hey, can I jump in and say that the 2 masks that IDF sent me has really been a conversation starter and a reminder when I especially go into medical settings. Especially if I'm starting with a new provider or whatever, it's like, oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. And so it's like fewer and fewer explanations kind of a thing. So I would just like to give that feedback to the IDF staff.
Yeah.
The
Thank you.
best
Well,
I ever got was those
sorry.
masks.
And I know there's an armband you can get from Amazon that has
Mhm.
immune compromised on it.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Have what on them?
Immune compromised. It's an elastic armband you put on your upper arm. And you
Oh.
wear it. You can wear it over your coat, over your shirts and that. And it's a great way for people to realize, oh, I need to step back.
Yeah.
And for me, always when I get my infusion, even if I do them at home, I'm always wearing one of my rare disease shirts. And at times I will wear one if I go to a new doctor. So they get the hint.
Thank you so much. Curtis, would you like to share some words of advice?
So what Corin said, we're just be a little bit more vulnerable and letting people know, what you have, what IDF is, and that I think that's made quite a bit of difference. And a lot of people that I worked with, even pretty closely over the years, like they didn't know that I had anything. I'm pretty normal most of the time, except for getting sick. And luckily, by the time I had some significant illnesses that put me out for a bit, a number of people, already knew because we were doing the walk. So it was good to do that. So, and it also kind of gave people a little bit more awareness. And I always reminded people that, that I'm pretty damn healthy compared to a lot of other people with PI. So
Yeah.
IDF has helped me in ways, but it's definitely there's other people out there that need the help more than I do. I'm fortunate. Other people have circumstances that are much different, and IDF, a much necessary resource for them. Definitely needs the support.
Before we head off, can I add something to what Corinne had said? Before the pandemic, I got told my mom was concerned with me still working at the school. So I had to tell them, as far as right now, I cannot. And what I ended up realizing is how healthy my life can be. I have gotten significant less infections since not working, and I've had to resign from my job, which was a pretty big step, and it still hurts. But what we're hoping is I got my 3rd shot almost a month ago. And if I get my numbers checked in a couple weeks, actually, and if all turns out good, I might be volunteering at the special ed department at Chantilly High School. So when one door closes, another one opens, so to speak. And this is a hard journey, but it's a journey. And I'm thankful for all the support of everybody, just everybody.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And now to close up the evening, I want to thank you again for everyone for joining us, and an extra special thank you from our panelists. You shared so much great information. So I hope everyone has learned a lot tonight, and that you're ready to start fundraising. And if you have any remaining questions, please email walk@primaryimmune.org, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Additionally, always feel free to reach out. We are always here for you. And then thank you again for joining us, and happy fundraising. Have a great night, everyone.